had nowhere to go. Everything's moving so slow. The time's moving too fast. I hope this feeling don't last. Well, I've been away from myself too long. My body is aching from all my wrongs. And now that I know I'm not that strong, I'll keep slipping on to you. I'll keep slipping until my time is through. I'll keep slipping on to you, yeah, on to you.
am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter. Baby's got corrosion now. Corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Good morning, dear hearts. I hope you're having a fantastic start to your non-holiday week. That's right, the quote-unquote holidays are over. You guys hear me okay? For the most part, the federal holiday of Martin Luther King Day is on the 20th, which is also when inauguration takes place for Trump. So, should be a fun day. A mixed bag of treats and goodies for everyone to behold. Yeah, it's also it's January 6th today too, right? So it's 2 weeks from today. So it's it's the triumvirate of days in January. So yeah, which is fun. We like that kind of stuff. So also next week is just a little channel note real quick. So I noticed somebody else subscribed to the YouTube channel, and I thought, okay, that's weird, but all right, because that doesn't usually happen that often. But I noticed I have 560 subscribers now on YouTube, which I thank each and every one of you for that. But which is interesting because a week from Wednesday is my birthday, and I'll be turning 56. So 560, 56, maybe the, I'm not into numerology. I kind of like numerology. I'm fascinated by how it might actually be a thing in the cosmos, maybe, but, but I don't really know that much about it. But I just like numbers, and I like to slyly tell people when my birthday is, too. It's January 15th. The actual birth date of Martin Luther King, not the I'm taking off work holiday. So, yeah, so yeah, a lot happening in January. The hat says it all. Actually, I don't know what the hat says. I got this hat at Comic-Con. It was from some panel for this show on the Travel Channel. It was scaring the shit out of people, I think. I don't know if you could see that, but it is Paramount Plus. Peak screaming. I don't know, it was some bullshit. But I'm like, look I'm not repping. I just like free shit. So go for the swag, man. You don't have to believe in that shit. Just, believe in keeping your head warm. Your priorities. You know what I'm saying? So, hang on just a second. There we go. So who's here? We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO show here in the house. What's going on, brother? Floating in space. I hope space is warmer than it is down here. Although it's not bad right now. It just flashed up 30 degrees here in Chicago. But we're not down south where all the coldy deliciousness and rain and stuff is too. Max Sarge, what's up, brother man? Good to see you. And Steve Wolfbrandt. Our skies are filled with mysterious orbs, but that's okay. Well, it depends on what's in the orbs, right? You know, if it's hot chicks, that might be cool, but they could be hot chicks with machine guns, and that is not, well, actually, that's kind of cooler. But you might be dead, so we don't want that in any the case. Kim, good morning, dear. I think you're getting some of this weather up north there in the Northeast, right? Hope you're doing well, dear. Who else is in the mix? I think nobody over there on Rockfin or Rumble yet. Oh, Kate. Kate said there's a blizzard. Well, there was supposed to be a blizzard. She says here in Vancouver, BC, we had thick ass fog earlier. Then in an instant, it disappeared. Yeah. Good morning to you. She's probably getting her coffee. So, all right. Well, yeah. I don't know. You're like, what's the big news? It's winter. It's, sky is blue, or sky is gray. It's cold, right? It's wintertime. Well, we'll get to it here in just a second. First off, as always, we want to remind you about our buddy Chanda and her battle with lung cancer, and she's doing marvelously, by the way. She's Gen X, man. She's one of those fighters, man. I knew she was going to kick this thing's ass. But it's still expensive to do. So if you know somebody, if you or someone you know can help out, her GoFundMe is her link is down below in the description. If you can't afford anything right now, if you can share out the link, that works too. So we appreciate you for that. So. So I don't know. This may not be like a lead story, but I think the weather it should always be like a top story kind of thing, especially when it affects a shit ton of people. So let's right now just kind of take a look at this from Al Jazeera. What is a polar vortex? Because some of these people are like, what's polar vortex? What's that? Is that like is that one of them Disney movies? That makes that, where he comes every day's Christmas or some bullshit. Willie, what's up, man? Good morning, sir. Look at you. $10. Thank you, man. Today's the 4th anniversary of January 6th, when silly people engaged in a diet coup. Some right-wing people claim Nancy Pelosi called Antifa to infiltrate to make MAGA look bad. They need no help. I know, right? Let me do a little bingo. Do a little boop, boop, doo, doo, doo. Thanks, Willie. I appreciate you, man. And Happy New Year. Also, old people, we say Happy New Year to around the 10th, and then we just kind of start fading off. If we've already seen you, we're like, oh, happy. Oh, yeah, we already did that. So let's talk about the weather. What's the polar vortex? Weather event causing winter storms in the U.S. So, of course, new year, new fuckery when it comes to weather. The U.S. has been experiencing severe winter storms, which is likely to affect more than 60 million people in the country's east. The ongoing cold spell, which may bring down the mercury to as low as negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Jesus Christ! Negative 60, the F! I know what the F stands for, and it ain't Fahrenheit, is caused by the expansion of the polar vortex. And some people thought that was the Polar Express. They're bringing presents? Yeah, presents of cold death. An area of extremely cold rotating air around the Arctic southwards. Sub-freezing temperatures can extend as far south as the Gulf Coast and Florida Peninsula in the U.S., yes. Especially as jerky as the Gulf Stream's been doing too. Kim says, last polar vortex in 2013, I contracted bronchitis and I had to go to Minneapolis. On purpose? No, I'm kidding. I like Minneapolis. No, I don't. I've never been there, really. I've been through it, but I want to go to Lake Minnetonka. Sub-freezing temperatures, yeah, okay, so we did that. So the polar vortex primarily affects countries situated in the northern hemisphere. mid to high latitudes. These regions are particularly susceptible to extreme cold weather events, right? Especially when you get way up there in Canada too, like in Moose Country and nobody else, maybe a few Inuits running around there. So the polar vortex spins anti or counterclockwise around the North Pole with wind speeds of about 155 miles per hour. That's fast. There are two types of polar vortices. Vortexes, I don't know what to say anymore. Tropospheric and stratospheric. The tropospheric polar vortex occurs at the lowest level of the atmosphere where most weather phenomena take place. The vortex creates milder weather across northern latitudes. That's the tropospheric. See, look at that. The polar vortex. That's some Flash Gordon shit. The polar vortex we are currently experiencing is a stratospheric polar vortex, which typically occurs about 10 to 30 miles above the Earth's surface and forms in autumn, but disappears in the spring of each year. When the stratospheric polar vortex is in a stable state, frigid Arctic air is confined to the polar regions. Well, you know that ain't true. Hey, Jacqueline, what's good? Good to see you. Got Fred Edward in the house. No cakes, man. I just had a Pop-Tart that may be making an appearance again soon. Miguel, my friend, good to see you. We are now with Quantum 5000 multi-processor power. So I feel 10% smarter when Miguel's in the chat. Oh, today's your birthday, Fred? Happy birthday, Fred. Fred's another Capricorn. Capricorn. This is the month for Capricorns, y'all. Watch out. Watch your shit, because we ain't taking it. Nuh-uh. N-U-H. U-H. So when it's stable, it's fine. But when it's in a weakened state, the chilly winds expand beyond the circular North Pole region and extend as far south as Florida. So that's what's happening right now. We're going to take a look at the live radar here in just a second, because that's what Daddy likes to do. He likes to pretend like he's a weather guy sometimes. We're going to look at this high pressure system here down in the southeast. Now, it's going to be making its way north here towards the weekend, but don't worry, you can still go camping. The rising warm air from the lower atmosphere weakens the polar vortex, allowing it to spread more widely, kind of like a buffet for you and your loved ones who like to eat. This upward movement of warm air can be triggered by significant weather patterns or phenomena, such as powerful winds in mountainous regions or changes in tropical climate systems. Both types of polar vortices, everything's bigger in vortexes, are important for global atmospheric circulation and climate regulation. Do experience cold. Okay, so this is all well and good. This is just telling you about the polar vortex. So far, I mean, nothing's crazy going on right now. So maybe let's see. Hello, good morning. Hi. So this is from Zoom Earth. I like Zoom Earth. Zoom Earth is like, you can kind of like follow along with your favorite weather person that's doing this. And you know what's cool now is like, it's not just like the Weather Channel people doing this shit and network television and cable networks. You have like, there's meteorologists doing YouTube channels. They got their own shit, man. They got their own equipment. And these aren't just the storm chasers. Like, they got their own shit at home, you know, and they've saved a few lives, been out there, doing that storm chasing shit. Some of it's, that's dangerous shit, but, a lot of times they get information before anybody else and they can warn people in advance, get the fuck out of Dodge. Because if you've ever lived in Oklahoma or Arkansas or, Tennessee or, North Texas, tornadoes will fuck some shit up. For reals. News weatherman is probably the best job on the planet. Yeah, even if you're wrong, they still pay you. That's right. Everything's bigger in vortexes. I know. I need the rim shot, but that's on another show. So anyway, this is where it's at right now. This is the shit was coming through here earlier, right? So I don't know. Can we go back? So this was yesterday, and you can see all this stuff up here, right? It was cutting through here, like through what is this? What is this? Is that Iowa? What the hell? What the hell town is that? Brooklyn? Oh, that's Kansas. Kansas so plain. Kansas looks like somebody took a little nibble off of a weed brownie. If you see that little corner right there. But look, so you got Kansas, and then you got Missouri, and Southern Illinois here. Southern, a little bit of mid there. And it was going through here, but then the next day, womp womp. Now it's all up in here. So Indiana and Ohio is getting all this stuff. So this is like precipitation. Go away. So I guess the temperatures, like the temperatures aren't that bad. Well, these are in the 20s, so a lot of that's going to be snow. So the good thing is nobody got fucked up yet. So the thing you have to worry about though with this kind of thing is if it swoops down too far south, you get into those states that don't have the kind of equipment and like salt and stuff to put on the highways and the streets and stuff. A lot of times they'll go out there with gravel. Right, and they'll try and put gravel out there, and they'll get road graders and put the gravel on there to give you some traction across the ice. It's fun driving in ice down south. That's for sure. I think Pacific Northwest Weather Watch YouTube channel is a great daily forecast. He also does California Weather Watch. Oh yeah, okay, cool. I don't watch some of those guys too much because I like, if it's like hurricane stuff, I'll usually check out like, especially in the Gulf, I'll usually try to check out the Florida stations or WWL out of New Orleans, one of those places like that, because they've been doing it storm coverage for, decades and decades. But there's one called Hey Y'all. It's with somebody Hall. I can't remember his first name, but he's pretty good too. He's got his own little home set up too. I don't know if he goes out and does the actual chasing, but I know. So you got the chasers, and then you got like your home peoples that do these things, and some of them do, and they coordinate too. It's wild the way storm chasers do it now. Now you can live stream that shit. Holy fuck, man. It is crazy. Steve says, every day is sunny and perfect here. I'm never leaving. Are you in hell? I hope not. You're not in hell. Anyway, we're getting off track here. Speaking of New Orleans, the king of segue here. Is that what's coming up next? So, in lieu of what happened last week on New Year's Day in New Orleans and Las Vegas, military bases have decided to face forward and clench butt because they're reacting. Security tightened at military bases following New Orleans, Las Vegas attacks. U.S. military base. Come on, son. U.S. military bases across North America are initiating heightened security measures, including suspending the Trusted Traveler program following violent attacks this week in New Orleans and Las Vegas. The order from U.S. Northern Command, which multiple installations announced on Friday last week, directs bases to initiate a full identification check at all entry points onto bases. Anyone 18 years and older must present their IDs to security at gates. The military's Trusted Traveler program is suspended until further notice per the bases. What is this Trusted Travelers Program? Due to the recent attacks in New Orleans and Las Vegas, U.S. Northern Command directed increased force protection measures at installations, facilities, and units within the U.S. NORTHCOM area of responsibility, which includes the continental United States and Alaska. This is a prudent measure to ensure the safety and security of our installations and personnel, Northern Command said in a statement. To task and purpose, I believe that is this publication here. This may have the potential to cause delays for personnel or visitors entering installations. The order impacts bases for all military branches. The Trusted Traveler Program let Department of Defense employees, as well as uniformed service members, to vouch for the occupants of their vehicles when accessing a base. Now, those guests must get visitor passes through base offices. I thought they had to do that anyway. The hell, they're just letting them through? Trusted Traveler Program. They should call that the dumbass program. Now these guests must get visitor passes through the base offices. Other measures include full ID checks of all vehicle occupants and random vehicle searches. The order from NORTHCOM comes after the incidents last week in New Orleans. And we know about Shamsuddin Jabbar drove the truck through there, allegedly got shot and killed, had a shootout with the cops, had an ISIS flag. Later in Vegas, Green Beret Master Sergeant Matthew Livelsberger had a rented Tesla Cybertruck in front of one of Trump's hotels there. It exploded. Don't think it killed anybody. Well, it killed him, obviously. He was in the truck. They said he may have committed suicide. 7 people wounded. Yeah, and he shot himself before it exploded. And they were both on the same car app. That they got both vehicles off the same app. They were both from Fort Bragg. It's all this MK Ultra shit, you know. People say MK Ultra now. That's just like it's not a conspiracy theory. Everybody knows about it. They already confirmed that it existed, and now it makes a whole hell of a lot of other things make sense because that was probably some MK Ultra shit. So these motherfuckers still got a hard on for Trump apparently. So he's going to be actually sentenced this Friday, unless something else crazy happens. So for all you Trump fans out there, this bud's for you. Upholding Trump conviction in hush money case. Judge sets sentencing for next week, which would be this Friday, I believe, the 10th. Yes. This from Common Dreams. President-elect Donald Trump will almost certain to be the first felon to serve as U.S. president following a ruling on Friday by New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan. This was this past Friday. Weeks before Trump is set to take office, Merchant upheld Trump's criminal conviction of 34 counts of falsifying business records in the case involving efforts to conceal a hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels during the 2016 election cycle. Max, I know in the chat earlier this morning you asked if this was a secret show. It could be a secret show because there's hush money involved. Just me? Okay. The Republican president-elect had filed a motion to dismiss the indictment and vacate the guilty verdict that was reached by a jury in May. Merchan scheduled Trump's sentencing for Friday, just 10 days before his inauguration. Merchan signaled in his ruling that he is not inclined to sentence the Republican president-elect to prison. See, he's going to be sentenced Friday, but here comes old Mr. Softy. The conviction carries up to 4 years in prison. Instead, Merchan is expected to grant Trump an unconditional discharge, which is why 3 of my ex-girlfriends left me, because of the unconditional discharge of his sentence, according to New York Times, which cements his status as a felon but allows him to walk free. The Manhattan District Attorney had proposed the possibility of postponing Trump's sentencing until after his second presidential term ends in 2029. Ooh, that's when Apophis hits, or it's going to be swinging by. It's going to hit in 2036. His sentencing was originally set for July, but was postponed after U.S. Supreme Court ruled that presidents enjoy absolute immunity for official acts taken while in office. That ruling was related to a separate indictment of Trump regarding his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Trump is expected to ask an appeals court to intervene and postpone the January 10th sentencing. Yeah, so he's going to be sentenced, but, you know, oh, sorry. I was trying to do that, but I got under the mic, and then it was like I was in no man's land there. If any of you who hasn't paid for a little sex, hey, brother, man, we've all paid, if you know what I mean. I'm not just talking money. Talking about sweat and tears and pain and skin and lunches. If you live in Kim, this might you might be a little more relatable to this since at least you're around that neck of the woods. New York City has finally started doing their driver congestion bullshit. Because, you know, Governor Kathy Hochul just loves people. You ever notice like her head is too big for her body? I bet she looks like what's his name from Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Brack, you know Brack who had that big ass thing? She looks kind of like Brack. A little bit. You don't know who Brack is, you gotta Google it. I'm sorry. I don't have time for lessons. In a first, New York launches driver congestion charging amid opposition. Yep. See, they won't fix the trains up right. They won't modernize the trains, like, you know, bring in more trains and stuff like that. They have to. They want you to bring your cars, but they don't want you to bring your cars because they want to fine you. Well, they want you to bring your cars so they can fine you. New York City introduced a controversial driver congestion charge yesterday, becoming the first city in the U.S. to implement such a scheme despite significant opposition. It is a scheme. The plan announced by Brack in November requires drivers to pay a toll of $9 to enter areas of Manhattan south of Central Park, effective Saturday. Yeah, that was Saturday. This initiative revives a previous proposal that was put on hold in June after Hochul acknowledged there were too many unintended consequences for New Yorkers. Originally, the fee had been set at $15. That would have been some ass whooping right there. Yeah, me too, Kim. The scheme has drawn sharp criticism from Republican lawmakers who have called on President-elect Donald Trump, a New York native, to intervene and cancel the plan. Many businesses in areas surrounding New York City have voiced concerns that the charge will harm their operations and make it harder for their residents to commute into Manhattan. Well, it'll be pricier. And as gas prices being as high as they are too, man, I don't know. Talk about hitting the streets. They probably, what they're going to do to strike is park their cars. They just drive their cars into Manhattan and just use the streets as parking lots. That would be kind of like the trucker strike in Canada. Only you got the commuter strike in New York. New Jersey state officials also tried to block the scheme on environmental grounds, but a judge rejected their request Friday, clearing the way for the tolling plan to proceed. The tolling system aims to reduce congestion and generate funds for New York's subway system. Aims to reduce congestion and generate funds for the subway system. Hochul stated that the plan was revived after a new assessment indicated it would be more effective with a lower fee. So it went from 15 to $9, they said? Is that was right? $9. However, the scheme, I haven't done a however yet, so I have to do it normal first. See, I do the howevers. I do it normal, and then as I do more howevers throughout the show, they get increasingly outrageous. So that's a little insight. You're welcome. However, the scheme has faced opposition from various local officials, including some from New York City boroughs, as well as from a major trade group representing haulers. Taxi driver associations also express concerns. As while their members will be exempt from paying the fee, the passengers will face a surcharge. And taxis ain't cheap either already. The congestion charge applies to vehicles entering Manhattan below 60th Street, including the key business districts of Midtown and Wall Street. Around 700,000 vehicles enter this area daily, contributing to gridlock, where average speeds can be as low as 7 miles per hour and even slower in some parts of the city. Yeah, those streets are kind of... Once you get past Houston, it's pretty much like... it's like Escape from New York. You know, Snake Plissken's out there. You know, they got Donald Pleasance being held hostage. There are several exemptions to the fee, along with a discount program for low-income drivers and those who enter the toll zone more than 10 times a month. While similar schemes have been implemented for years in cities like London and Stockholm, New York's congestion charge will be closely watched by other U.S. cities to assess its impact on traffic and revenue. So watch out. Watch out, other big cities that aren't New York. You're probably going to be fucked with that too. I'm glad. Yeah, when I lived in New York, I didn't have a car. Thank God. Because if all the shit that you have to pay with the car, I probably would have had to live in that car. Yeah, below 14th Street is a rat's nest, that's for sure. Yeah, Kim, you remember when there was the when Sandy hit and half of Manhattan was out of power? I can't remember how far down it was. I know. I think once you got to like 34th Street and north, you had electricity, but everything like south of that, I think, was out, and it was crazy. It was almost like Escape from New York, man. I thought Lee Van Cleef was gonna blow up that thing in my neck. What's up, D? Good to see you. Good morning. I think it's still morning. It's still morning somewhere. Yeah, and it flooded too. That's for sure. Yeah, down there by the ferry there. The Staten Island ferry. You've seen videos that it's just like waterfalls just gushing into that thing. Oh. And all that lower Manhattan stuff's not even supposed to be there. That's all landfill. They just put that in there. And landfill's crazy. It's not natural. It's unnatural. It's tainted. So we told you that one of my viewers killed Jimmy Carter. I'm just kidding. He died on his own. He was 100 years old. I was trying to see if anybody was listening. Like, hey, wait a minute. What the fuck's he talking about? But so the farewell tour. It's just think for all you girls out there who like that Eras tour of what's her face, that young girl that likes to do a lot of songs about her ex-boyfriends. I don't want to say her name because for one thing I can't remember it, and two I don't want to get sued because I'm sure she's very she probably sues a lot of people. But anyway, it's Jimmy Carter's farewell tours going on. It began in Saturday in Georgia. 6 days of ceremony started with a motorcade procession from Carter's hometown of Plains, Georgia, to Atlanta, where he will lie in state before being moved to Washington, D.C. And once he's in Washington, D.C., that's when all these asshole ex-presidents show up, and that's when Bush is going to give Big Mike some more candy. All this bullshit. And then people are like, oh, look, they're such great ex-presidents. Why did we hate them so much? Oh, yeah, genocide. No, that wasn't it. Yeah, that was it. Once all the services are concluded, Carter will be buried in his hometown along with his wife, Rosalind, who passed away last year at the age of 96. Ooh, got him a younger woman. Good for you, brother man. The route includes the old train depot that served as Jimmy Carter's 1976 presidential campaign headquarters, as well as the gas stations once run by Carter's younger brother, Billy. The Billy Beer guy. Remember him? He was the Billy Beer guy. Carter's legacy spans the globe. He was the first U.S. president to make a state visit to sub-Saharan Africa, and he took a strong stand against South Africa's apartheid government, criticizing its treatment of black citizens. Through his unwavering commitment to peace, human rights, and diplomacy, Carter leaves behind a world greatly shaped by his leadership. So, yeah. You can't really say that, man. And then now that Carter's gone, who's left? Who you got left now? You got, so Reagan's gone, Daddy Bush is gone, Ford, all them are gone. So now Clinton is the most is the one who served the latest, well, like the furthest back, right? So he was in the 90s. So you got Clinton, you got Bush Jr., you got Jr., Strategery, Obama, Trump, and Biden, right? Trump, Biden, Obama. So there's 5 left. Finger man, hello to you too. Birmingham, England charges for clean air tax when you drive through certain areas after a certain time. For reals? Wow. You know, I get it with the libertarians, what they say, like with the taxes, with the bullshit taxes, right? I think there should be smart taxes for everybody. If we got to contribute to society, that's how you got to do it. But it should be for smart things, and you got to cut out all this dumb spending and all this secret spending. That's one thing. All the dark money that goes to the CIA that you don't know what they're doing with, what they're doing it with, and that shit got to stop. And when you try to stop that, that's when they stop you, only with high velocity projectiles that tend to pierce skin and damage organs and unalive people. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Global? Good to see you. $9 toll costs $7 to collect tolls. Indeed. All right. So, you know, we were talking about the mental health of troops in Israel. I think it was last week or week before. Well, here in America, our boys in our boys in blue, I guess that's what they call it. They're not doing too good either. 40% rise in mental health diagnoses among troops, report finds. Let's see. Diagnoses of mental health disorders among active duty service members. This is not veterans. This is active duty. Increased by nearly 40% over the last 5 years, according to a new Defense Health Agency report. The report, which was released as part of the agency's Armed Forces Health Surveillance Division's December Medical Surveillance Monthly Report, these long-ass titles, examined mental health diagnoses among active duty troops between 2019 and 2023, finding that anxiety disorders and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, accounted for the largest increase in diagnoses. Of course it did, right? For all the crazy shit that they're doing. And being outmatched by actual fighters. It's one thing to go after, you know, people who are just like farmers and stuff like that who aren't fighters. But then when you go after actual competent militaries and they kick your ass, I would imagine that would have a strong effect on somebody's psyche for sure. Specifically, diagnoses of these disorders nearly doubled during the 5-year period, according to the report. The report did not pinpoint a single cause for the rise, but cited the COVID-19 pandemic, which coincided with the 5-year period as a potential factor in the uptick. Not surprised there. In 2023, active duty service members experiencing a mental health disorder populated more hospital beds than any other affliction, accounting for 54.8% of all hospital bed stays. The medical data was retrieved from medical records accessed through the Defense Medical Surveillance System and Theater Medical Data Store. From 2019 through 2023, 541,672 active duty service members from the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Space Force, that just looks so ridiculous in there. Anyway, were diagnosed with at least one mental health disorder, according to the report. Approximately 47% of those individuals, about 255,000, were diagnosed with more than one mental health disorder. In total, 966,227 individual diagnoses were made. Mental health disorder diagnoses were most often found in female service members, individuals from a younger age demographic, and the Army. The Navy, however, led all other services in diagnoses of depressive disorders, bipolar disorders, and personality disorders. Active duty female service members were also diagnosed with PTSD at twice the rate of male service members, and incidence of diagnoses increased with age. The report noted these findings likely reflected changing demographics of the military as more women serve, and may relate to sex-specific differences in mental health factors that can predispose service members to higher PTSD rates. Efforts to assist and treat service members should continue to promote help-seeking behavior to improve their psychological and emotional well-being and reduce the burden of mental health disorders, especially as rates have been increasing since the COVID-19 pandemic, the report said. The report utilized ambulance encounters, hospitalization, or outpatient visits to a psychiatric facility, among other factors, to define a mental health diagnosis. Mental health disorders defined by the Defense Department include acute stress disorders, bipolar disorders, depressive disorders, anxiety disorders, PTSD, and schizophrenia, among others. The Defense Department has struggled to address the mental health of service members, including veterans, whose suicide rate remained at 17.6% from 2021 to 2022, according to federal census data. Veterans are almost twice as likely to die by suicide as civilians, Military Times previously reported. That's who's doing this one. In 2023, the rate of military suicides rose by 6%. Yeah, so, when we talk about propaganda, right? Let's talk about military propaganda, right? You see, like, football's going on right now. The football season just ended yesterday, the regular season. Now you got the playoffs, but at least for a week or a couple of weeks, you'll see, like, the coaches will be wearing military fatigues, right? You'll see them, like, it'll be like a Saints jersey or like a Chicago Bears jersey or whatever. Their Bears logo stuff, it'll all be camouflage stuff. And then they always do these jet flyovers. They'll have a stealth bomber fly over stadiums and stuff like that. They just permeate the public, with patriotism. You're a patriot. You hear somebody say they're a patriot. Now, a lot of times you hear somebody say they're a patriot, it means like they're a certain thing, like they're either a prepper or they're like this or that or whatever, right? I'm not going to go into it. I don't, to each his own. Everyone is different. Nobody's a monolith, but that's what happens. And so they get propagandized. And by the way, the NFL makes the military pay the NFL for all that fanfare and stuff like that. So it's just like they're collaborating, but the military has to pay for it. So in essence, federal dollars are paying for propaganda, right? And what it does, these young people think, wow, man, military's great, I'm going in. And then they go into the military and they find out they're not fighting for their country, they're fighting for nefarious other reasons. And then, and then they get disillusioned. And that, of course, that's going to lead to psychological problems in a lot of these kids. I do believe some of these kids actually think going in that they're going to make a difference. They're going to, defend their country, because that's that's the line that they bought all these years. Or maybe, their parents served, or, grandparents, whatever, and that's what happens. And like we said, and it continues on when you leave the military, they just don't give a fuck about you. So, what is this really? Okay, so one moment, please. I believe I have something out of order. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing okay? Is the soup? Did you like the soup? It's a nice little bisque we put together. What is this? You can go away. That is interesting. Oh, okay. That's where we go. I hit the wrong thing. All right, so we're going to Canada. Woohoo! For the moment. Don't get too excited. We're not stopping for souvenirs. Okay? So, apparently this week, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister there, is going to be stepping down. Uh-oh. He's announced his plan to resign. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he plans to resign as leader of his Liberal Party and effectively as Prime Minister amid growing pressure. There have been calls for him to step aside since December, when one of Trudeau's closest cabinet allies, Finance Minister Christina Freeland, whose grandpappy was, I guess he was blind because he couldn't, he would not see, resigned after she pushed back against his proposals for more spending. Okay, so, and this is just, apparently this is a developing story. Let me see what this has here. Okay, Trudeau, who has been Liberal chief since 2013 and Prime Minister since 2015, has also faced growing public anger in recent years over a housing crisis and lack of affordability. His resignation leaves the Liberals scrambling to select a permanent head at a time when polls show the party will badly lose to the opposition Conservatives in an election that must be held by late October. I don't know if you've ever heard that guy, the Conservative opposition leader. He sounds like a fucking car salesman, smooth talker. He's like, oh, wow, yeah. I know that kind of sounds like Peter Griffin a little bit. But, so Justin Trudeau looks like he's about to be out. Look at all these fucking shit lib governments, man. Trudeau, France, Germany. They're all starting to crumble, man. It's getting silly. And now the Honduras, one of our pals down below, is threatening to kick us out. What the hell did we do? Probably did something. Why is Honduras threatening to expel U.S. troops? So, Honduras has threatened to expel U.S. troops, retaliating against incoming President Donald Trump's plans to carry out mass deportations of refugees and asylum seekers entering the U.S. from Central America. So Honduras says, all right, you can do that shit? All right, motherfucker, let's go. Trump's plan could affect hundreds of thousands of people from Honduras, a country which hosts a significant U.S. military base. Here's what's at the heart of the dispute between the world's biggest superpower and its smallest neighbor, why it matters, and what this means. In her New Year's message, Honduras' President Xiomara Castro threatened to reconsider the country's military cooperation with the U.S. if President-elect Donald Trump follows through on mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. Castro stated that U.S. military facilities in Honduras, particularly Sotocano Air Base, would lose all reason to exist if these deportations occurred. But she also used the opportunity to criticize the long-standing U.S. military presence on Honduras soil more broadly. In the face of a hostile attitude of mass expulsion of our brothers, we would have to consider a change in our cooperation policies with the U.S., especially in the military field, where for decades, without paying a cent, throwing that shade, I like that. You lived here, you didn't even pay nothing, then maintain military bases on our territory, which in this case would lose all reason to exist in Honduras, she said in a Spanish statement broadcast on national television. The U.S. military presence in Honduras, while focused on Sotocano Air Base, is part of a broader operations in Central America that includes smaller bases in El Salvador. Sotocano, which became operational in the 1980s to combat perceived communist threats in the region, hosts more than 1,000 U.S. military and civilian personnel. It's also one of the few locations capable of landing large planes between the U.S. and Colombia, apart from Guantanamo. The base serves as a key launching point for the rapid deployment of U.S. forces in the region, including for providing disaster relief and administering aid and for counter-narcotics operations. Its location provides proximity to drug trafficking corridors in Central and South America, also making it an essential staging ground for surveillance and interdiction. Interdiction, giggity. However, some experts have criticized the U.S. justification for its military presence at Sotocano after Washington supported the government of Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was eventually extradited to the U.S. in 2022 for drug crimes and money laundering. Wow, I'm shocked. You mean that goes on down there? That's the thing? Man, that's crazy talk. Woo, somebody doing a little soda, doing some of the poop-poops, some of the sugar, the booger sugar. Hernandez was twice president of Honduras and is serving a 45-year jail term in New York since June of last year. The hypocrisy to say that they're using Sotocano to fight drug trafficking when the U.S. was shoring up, legitimating and pouring millions of dollars into the president of Honduras and his corrupt police and military, Dana Frank, professor emerita of history at the University of Cal, Santa Cruz, told Al Jazeera. At the same time, while the U.S. does not pay Honduras for the base, Sotocano does serve benefits to the Central American nation, too. The U.S. military presence in Honduras is generally popular, makes an economic contribution, and provides specific benefits to Honduras in terms of infrastructure development, intelligence, and emergency assistance in times of extreme weather, which often impacts Honduras, said Eric Olson, Global Fellow at the Wilson Center, and probably some sort of shitlib fuckhead. Experts say the threat from Honduras marks a significant moment in Central American geopolitics. I think this is a really fascinating and powerful turning point in the role of the U.S., which takes for granted that it's going to dominate the Western Hemisphere, that is particularly going to dominate Central America, said Frank. Frank said the U.S. military may be particularly inclined to keep Sotocano amid competition with China, which does not have a military presence in Central America. Honduras, too, wouldn't want a rupture in ties with the U.S., says analysts. The country relies on remittances from its overseas citizens. 27% of its gross domestic product came from remittances in 2022, and its biggest diaspora is in the U.S., where about 5% of the Honduras population, more than 500,000 people, live per Pew Research Center estimates. Hondurans play a key role in the U.S. economy, particularly in labor-intensive sectors. In the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore in March last year, One of the 6 construction workers killed was a Honduran national, while others were immigrants from Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador. That very same dynamic, however, makes it hard for Honduras to stay silent in the face of threats of mass deportations. The country's Deputy Foreign Minister Tony Garcia said about 250,000 Hondurans could be expelled from the U.S. This year, a number the Central American nation is not equipped to suddenly host. Without the remittances from its citizens in the U.S., the economy of Honduras could also take a major hit. Some analysts view the threat as a negotiating tactic rather than an immediate policy shift and say that Honduras lacks leverage to influence U.S. policies meaningfully. In the end, I sense that Honduras is making threats with a very weak hand, Olson told Al Jazeera. Frank described the move as a preemptive strike against Trump and a significant assertion of Honduran and Central American sovereignty. Trump has pledged swift deportations of undocumented immigrants, but his team has provided no concrete plans. Of course, they haven't, leaving Latin American governments uncertain as they try to prepare. And then some other stuff here. So Honduras is making at least gestures, but they try to tell the United States to get out. They'll just say no, and they'll be like, oh, well, I guess we tried. So Brazil taking these ICC war crime charges very seriously, not just against Bibi and Gallant, but war crimes in general. So an Israeli soldier flees Brazil amid investigation into Gaza war crimes. Yes, let's go after these war crime motherfuckers. An Israeli soldier accused of war crimes has fled Brazil amid an investigation into his actions in Gaza, local media reported Sunday. The Hind Rajab Foundation, HRF, a pro-Palestine advocacy organization, filed a criminal complaint last week accusing the soldier, who was in Brazil as a tourist, of involvement in the Israeli military's systematic demolition of civilian homes in Gaza. On Saturday, a Brazilian court instructed police to investigate the soldier for war crimes. In a statement, the HRF accused Israel of orchestrating his departure to obstruct justice, adding that there are also indications that evidence is being destroyed. What? Israel destroying evidence? That's insane. Nobody's ever seen. The HRF submitted over 500 pages of evidence to the court, including video footage, geolocation data, and photographs that showed the suspect planting explosives and participating in the destruction of entire neighborhoods. This individual actively contributed to the destruction of homes and livelihoods, and his own statements and behavior clearly aligned with the genocidal objectives in Gaza, said Mara Pinheiro, the HRF's lawyer. Palestinian families whose homes were destroyed by the Israeli army have joined the HRF case as plaintiffs. This case represents the first time a state party to the Rome Statute has independently enforced its provisions without depending on the ICC. This is a historic moment, said HRF Chairman Diab Abu Jaja. Jaja? Really? It sets a powerful precedent for nations to take bold action in holding perpetrators of war crimes accountable. Well, you would think. The foundation has submitted similar complaints in other countries, including one against Israel's military attaché in Brussels and another involving a soldier traveling in Sri Lanka. I like to say attaché because it's usually you're saying attaché case, and that's like, ooh, fancy. Fears in Israel have been growing that decisions by the ICC could lead to arrests and investigations into war crimes. Last month, the Israeli military advised dozens of soldiers against traveling abroad after reportedly tracking around 30 war crimes complaints and legal actions targeting its personnel for their roles in operations in Gaza. Officers and soldiers have also been instructed to remove any photos or videos of documenting their involvement in Gaza from social media platforms. Yeah, because they were posting them to like all these places. That's how people learned about it. They learned through the IDF. They learned through them. Fucking. Additionally, they've been told to refrain from sharing their locations while abroad amid fears of retaliation from pro-Palestinian organizations, which have reportedly compiled blacklists of individuals involved in the war. So this guy in Brazil, he had to say, well, it's not adios because it's Portuguese, and I don't know how to say see ya. I don't know how to say smell you later in Portuguese, but I'm always willing to learn. It's like liquid sin and church just let out. I don't know what that means. Yeah, so do we think we're gonna see more arrests or attempts at arresting people like this this year? It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen how bold these countries are going to allow their police forces, I mean, the ones that are under the Roman statute that are obligated to, to do that. But will they actually do it? With the U.S. going, don't you dare. Go Start, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. I know who you are. I see you in the night. Yeah, and your daily murder update in Israel, of course, as Israeli attacks kill 88 Palestinians in Gaza over 24 hours. This is Dave DeCamp over there at antiwar.com. Make sure you're checking out antiwar.com for independent news sources, lots of various aggregation of stories from themselves and from other sources. So it's a great place to, if you're looking for more than one, source for something, which you should be. Critical thinkers do that. Gaza's health ministry said yesterday that Israeli attacks killed at least 88 Palestinians and wounded 208 over the previous 24-hour period as Israel has stepped up its bombing of the besieged enclave in recent days. It seems like I read that same sentence over and over, but the numbers change slightly. Al Jazeera reported that Israeli attacks across Gaza killed over 200 Palestinians over the past 3 days. We're seeing women and children making up the vast majority of casualties, said Hani Mahmoud, an Al Jazeera journalist reporting from Deir el-Balah in central Gaza. Also on Sunday, an 8th Palestinian baby died of hypothermia due to exposure from living in a tent in winter in 2025. He died because of the very cold weather. He slept next to me, and in the morning I found him frozen and dead. I don't know what to say, the baby's mother told Al Jazeera. Israeli strikes on Sunday included a drone strike near the southern city of Khan Yunis that killed at least 5 Palestinians. Palestinian news agency Wafa reported at least 9 Palestinians were killed by Israeli shelling in central and northern Gaza. Since Thursday, Israel has significantly stepped up attacks on the Gaza governorate, which includes Gaza City, raising fears that the Israeli military is moving its ethnic cleansing campaign known as the General's Plan further south. Since early October, the IDF has been conducting ethnic cleansing in the North Gaza governorate, which includes the cities of Beit Lahia, Beit Hanun, and Jabalia. The campaign involved a total siege and orders for all civilians to leave under the threat of death, whether by bombing, shooting, or starvation. IDF soldiers have also been demolishing every building in sight so civilians have nowhere to return. The general's plan aims to cleanse all Palestinians from both North Gaza and Gaza governorates, so none remain north of the Netzarim corridor, a strip of land where the IDF has demolished most buildings and established military bases. Completing the ethnic cleansing will likely pave the way for the establishment of Jewish settlements in northern Gaza. Wafa reported that 45 Palestinians were killed by Israeli attacks in the North Gaza governorate on Saturday. Gaza's health ministry said Sunday that the latest violence had brought the death toll to 45,805. That's the ones they know of, and wounded a little over 109,000. Yeah. So, um, and they're probably going to be staying past the ceasefire too. I think it's a few weeks. The ceasefire is going to be up. And they've been violating the ceasefire the whole time, trying to blame Hamas for violating. It's all these fucking mind games. They're just playing these. Everybody knows. Anybody who stepped outside of these bubbles that's not rooting for anybody can see what the hell's going on over there. So, so if that's not bad enough, Trump, like we said, is going to be here. What's today? What, 2 weeks from today, he'll get sworn in. Grok wouldn't score me no matter how I asked. So I demanded score me and got a 75 Grok. I don't know what that Grok score is. I've heard people talk about their Grok score. I don't know what it is. Maybe we'll do a deep dive at some point. Probably not. So Israel considers cutting aid to Gaza even more under Trump, because Trumpy is Captain Cuck when it comes to Israel, right? Particularly, what's her face? That rich billionaire chick that you know the one. Doctor Everything Be All Right. Israel's considering limiting humanitarian aid deliveries into Gaza even more once President-elect Donald Trump is inaugurated in 2 weeks, reported CNN on Saturday, citing an Israeli official. In recent months, the amount of aid entering Gaza has reached all-time lows as the Israeli military has been conducting an ethnic cleansing campaign, as we were telling you about before. The Biden administration claimed it was concerned about the aid restrictions and gave Israel a 30-day time limit right, to allow up to 350 aid trucks to enter the strip per day. When the deadline came in November, Israel was not anywhere near that number, but the Biden administration said there would be no consequences. And U.S. weapons shipments to Israel continued to flow, and they still continue to flow. As we'll tell you here momentarily. I think it's to Israel. The UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, or OCHA, not to be confused with OSHA, it's OCHA, said that 2,205 aid trucks entered Gaza in December, about 71 per day. The Israeli official speaking to CNN claimed the purpose of limiting aid even more would be to deprive Hamas of let's just change Hamas to people. To deprive people of resources, although armed gangs have been looting aid trucks due to the lack of security. Amit Segal, a journalist for Israel's Channel 12, reported last month that Trump had sent a message to Israel that suggests he won't care about further aid restrictions despite warnings of famine. Trump said sent messages to Israel, I won't insist on humanitarian aid as Biden did, Siegel wrote on the tweeters on December 22nd. Israel initially imposed a total siege on Gaza in the aftermath of October 7th. I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed. We're fighting human animals. We're acting accordingly. Former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said back on October 9th. And Secretary of State Antony Blinken has taken credit for getting the Israeli government to agree to allow some aid into Gaza, and said in the New York Times that was published on Saturday that it wasn't just Israeli officials who wanted a total siege. This wasn't just the prime minister or a given leader in Israel. This was an entire society that didn't want any assistance getting to a single Palestinian in Gaza. Jesus Christ. An entire society. Yeah, because they're all fucking brainwashed. While Israel has allowed some aid into Gaza overall, the deliveries are very restricted. U.S. government agencies have previously concluded Israel was deliberately blocking aid, which violates U.S. foreign assistance laws, but Blinken overrode those concerns to ensure U.S. weapons continue to flow to Israel. All bread and circuses, all the just, Nothing is real. Nothing is real. Nothing to be about. Sorry. And like I said, Israel says more weapons, please. Despite all this carnage, they're like, yeah, sure, man, we got you. White House to approve massive weapons sale to Israel. It's from Kyle Anzalone again, knocking it out over there at antiwar.com. Before President Joe Biden leaves office, he will approve one more massive arms sales to Israel. The $8 billion sale of missiles and artillery shells comes as human rights groups have labeled Israel's war in Gaza as a genocide. Axios reported on Friday the State Department has notified Congress informally of an $8 billion proposed arms deal with Israel that will include munitions for fighter jets and attack helicopters as well as artillery shells. Gray Walker joined Third Party. Hello, good to see you. Stranger in a strange land. That's right. What's up, Bella? Good morning. Hope you're well. Author Barak Ravid did not define what it means to informally notify Congress of the sale or if it fulfills the White House's requirement to notify Congress of arms deals. The massive arms sale to Tel Aviv comes after Amnesty International declared Israel's onslaught in Gaza a genocide. That's when Biden said, that's my cue. Come on, let's go sell these weapons. Amnesty International's research has found sufficient basis to conclude that Israel has committed and is continuing to commit genocide against Palestinians in the occupied Gaza Strip, the organization said in a landmark new report published today. The report released in early December explained. The sale includes AIM-120C8 AMRAAM air-to-air missiles, Hellfire AGM-114 missiles, 155mm artillery rounds, small diameter bombs, JDAM kits, and 500-pound bombs. Ooh, that sounds like the time we went to Tijuana when me and Miguel and Rick, we went down there and got this hooker. Remember, she put the bait on the hooks for us, so she was hooking them for us. That was a good time. We went fishing. In June, CNN reported that Israel used U.S. small-diameter bombs in an attack on a school. It killed 40 civilians. In October, the Washington Post noted, the Biden administration has received nearly 500 reports of alleging Israel used U.S.-supplied weapons for attacks that caused unnecessary harm to civilians in the Gaza Strip. Amnesty International is calling on the U.S. and other states excuse me, that provide Israel with arms to cut off the flow of weapons to stop the genocide. States that continue to transfer arms to Israel at this time must know they are violating their obligation to prevent genocide and are at risk of becoming complicit in genocide, said Agnes Calamard, the General Secretary of the organization. She's basically saying, you transfer these arms over here to Israel, you might, people might say, yeah, you're doing genocide your own self there, what you doing here, huh? That's what they're talking about. All states with influence over Israel, particularly key arms suppliers like the U.S. and Germany, but also other EU member states, the UK and others, must act now to bring Israel's atrocities against Palestinians in Gaza to an immediate end, she added. Israel receives most of its weapons, 78%, from the U.S. 78% of the weapons Israel gets is from you and me. Don't you feel proud? And officials in Tel Aviv have acknowledged it would not be able to sustain its military operations with continued U.S. support for more than a few months. Since the October 7th attack, the U.S. has provided Israel with $22 billion in military aid. I think that doesn't include the extra $9 billion they're getting because they haven't given it to them yet. Still, Biden has been routinely criticized by Republicans in Washington and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for not providing Israel with enough military support. The Axios reports that some of the munitions will come directly from U.S. stockpiles. Many of the weapons will be delivered years into the future. It's usually how it is. You don't get the weapons now, stupid. The goal of the deal is supporting Israel's long-term security by resupplying stocks of critical munitions and air defense capabilities, one official said. Yeah. More weapons. You're not... That's what the GOP is like, man, you're not serious about genocide. You're not genociding enough. When you're serious about genocide, you let me know, okay? All you fans of 80s rock band with what's his name, Robert Palmer in it, might not like this story because Ansarallah targets Israeli power station. U.S. British aggression on Yemen. See power station? Because Robert Palmer. She wants to multiply. Are you gonna do it? Feel the heat burning you up. Ready or not. Some like it hot and some sweat when the heat is on. Ansarallah announced on Sunday that they had launched a hypersonic missile targeting the Orat Rabin power station. That's a long Hobbit's journey way to go for a joke about the power station. South of Haifa in Israel. The group's military spokesman, Yahya Saree, confirmed that the operation was successful and vowed to continue military actions in support of Gaza. That's right, Miguel. That's right. That's right. That's why we're going on that road trip, you, me, and Rick. That's why we go down there and get those hookers. So when we go fishing, we don't have to bait the hooks ourselves. You know, I got that. She was working at Masturbators, remember? You know Masturbators. The statement from Ansarallah came just hours after the Israeli army reported intercepting a missile fired from Yemen. Sirens were activated in central Israel, including the greater Tel Aviv area, and explosions were heard in Hadera and surrounding regions as Israeli defenses engaged in the missile. In a televised statement, Saree emphasized that the missile named Palestine 2, Electric Boogaloo, successfully struck its intended target. He also affirmed that operations supporting Gaza would persist in parallel with the ongoing development of Ansarallah's military capabilities. Palm her, I barely do. Come on. You guys. Finger wagging as if I disapprove, but I don't. Saree reiterated that Ansarallah is focused on advancing its military strength to pressure Israel into halting its aggression and lifting the blockade on Gaza. The recent surge in attacks on Israel, including ballistic missile and drone strikes, has occurred despite Yemen facing Israeli airstrikes, which have targeted key infrastructure in Yemen, particularly electricity and oil facilities in Sana'a and Hodeidah. The Israeli army, in a statement, claimed that it had intercepted the missile fired from Yemen and reported that explosions heard in central Israel were a result of interceptor missiles. Ruh-roh. Ooh, that's a face. What the hell? Eyewitnesses in the area reported hearing successive blasts, which were accompanied by sirens in the greater Tel Aviv region. Israeli media also mentioned that during past missile attacks, millions of Israelis sought shelter, with dozens reported injured in the chaos. In retaliation, Israel has escalated airstrikes on Yemen, focusing on infrastructure, including critical facilities in Hodeidah, a key strategic port. Israeli officials have warned of intensifying attacks on Yemen and targeting Ansarallah leaders. Meanwhile, the U.S. and British military have carried out multiple airstrikes in northern Yemen, specifically in Sana'a. Through the exact targets of these Though the exact targets of these recent raids remain unclear, both Washington and London assert that their operations aim to weaken Ansarallah's military capabilities. So, you know them Houthis, Houthi and the blowfish, Houthi and the blow up fish, as in we're going to blow you up, you fish. They're still in it to win it for Gaza. So, you know, the Houthis remind me of like, you ever see like, I don't know, when I was in high school, you always had like the group of girls that were just like, you know, they were always arguing with each other, but some outside person got into the mix. They would just all attack at once, right? That's, you know, and like you see like these three girls, they're all fighting, they're getting beat up, but you got that one girl that's like always, it's like trying to help them out. That's the Houthis. The Houthis is that one chick that jumps in there. She's like taking off earrings and shit. She said, hold my shit. She gets in there and just bam, bam, bam. She's, you know, she's like, she might be a Latina, you know, she pulls out this like switchblade out of her bra and just starts stabbing people. I'm not saying go that far, but that's what the Houthis are. The Houthis take these hypersonic missiles out of their bra and then they shoot them. We'll talk about some Chinese stuff here in a second. And talk about them, how these weapons are advancing, man. You don't need nukes. Not anymore. Not with this crazy shit they got. So meanwhile, in Syria, even though all the chaos is going on and, you know, Israel's carving it up like a Thanksgiving turkey, Syria says international flights to and from Damascus are going to resume tomorrow. Which it might be tomorrow over there now. I think it's tonight, tomorrow there. Tonight, today. Syria said on Saturday the country's main airport in Damascus would resume international flights starting this week after such commercial trips were halted following last month's ousting of President Bashar al-Assad. Hey, P-Stuff, what's going on? We're all Houthi. Yeah, goddamn right. We announced we will start receiving international flights to and from Damascus International Airport from Tuesday, state news agency Sanaa said, quoting Ashad al-Salibi, who heads the General Authority of Civil Aviation and Air Transport. We reassure Arab and international airlines that we have begun the phase of rehabilitating the Aleppo and Damascus airports with our partners' help so that they can welcome flights from all over the world, he said. International aid planes and foreign diplomatic delegations have already been landing in Syria. Domestic flights have also resumed. Syrian Airlines will resume flights from Damascus to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. They'll be starting on Tuesday. An employee told AFP requesting anonymity because they were not authorized to speak to the media. Nah, I understand, but say it anyway. On Thursday, Qatar Airways announced it would resume flights to the Syrian capital after nearly 13 years, starting with 3 weekly flights from Tuesday. Qatari officials told AFP last month that Doha had offered the new Syrian authorities help resuming operations at Damascus Airport. On December 18th, the first flight since the rebels ousted Assad on December 8th took off from Damascus Airport in Aleppo in the country's north, AFP journalists saw. I guess that's it for that. So, yeah, it just seems like they're, whoever's running Syria right now is basically just a kind of a puppet regime, not so much for Israel, but is like extremely friendly, kind of like the, look, dude, I don't want any trouble, you know, take what you want, but just, you know, leave me and my family alone, you know, one of those kind of situations. That's what I think that's what that is. They're not rebels, they're foreign invaders. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Hang on a second. I think it's finally happened. Did it happen? Okay, so Trudeau has resigned. He has officially stepped down. That's according to Al Jazeera. So that is a continuing story, in case you're into that sort of thing. Wait a minute, where are we? Are we here? Okay. Okay, there. And then there's that. Okay. All right, I think we're back on track. Okay, so Trudeau resigns. We'll probably have more on that Wednesday. The fallout, what's going to happen, who's going to be taking over, that kind of thing. So, or maybe we'll hear more by the end of the cast. Who knows? It's just me running the show. So, if anybody knows any more information on there, want to send me a link, I'll be more than happy to take it. Let's see. So, meanwhile, other political shits around the world happening. I don't really like to focus too much on our own political stuff because we know all this stuff in America is all theater. And I'm pretty sure a lot of it overseas is too, but some of it seems to be kind of legit. So that's why I kind of keep an eye on it. So new Austrian conservative leader is ready for coalition talks with the far right because sure, the far right, you know, you can't spell far right without fascist, or I don't know. You can't spell fascist without far. I don't know. That's probably not right either. Forgive me. Let me just read and I'll be quiet. Austria's conservatives have said they are ready to enter into negotiations with the far-right Freedom Party, the FPO, to form a new government in a U-turn in policy after coalition talks with the Social Democrats and Liberals broke down. The European Union country was plunged into political turmoil after Conservative Chancellor Karl Nehammer on Saturday broke off talks to form a centrist government without the far right, the party that got the most votes in national elections in September. In the wake of the collapse, Nehammer said he would step down as chancellor and party chairman of the People's Party, the OVP. Yeah, you know me. That other P, it's not so simple. In the coming days to enable an orderly transition, he has held both posts since late 2021. At a leadership meeting of the Conservatives on Sunday, OVP Secretary General Christian Stocker was chosen as interim party leader. Canada is like a really nice apartment above a meth lab. Yes, it is. That is for sure. Stocker had long repeated Nehammer's position that the OVP would not govern with the far right, but he said the situation had now changed and that he had been authorized by his party to enter into the Devil's Covenant, coalition talks with the FPO, if invited to do so. This country needs a stable government right now, and we can't keep losing time to election campaigns or elections that we don't have, Stocker said. I expect that the leader of the party with the most votes will be tasked with forming a future government. If we're invited to these coalition talks, we will accept this invitation. Earlier on Sunday, Austrian President Alexander Van der Bellen said he would meet with FPO leader Herbert Kickl on Monday, that's today, amid growing speculation that he might ask the far-right politician to form a government. Yes, right, you dab. You know what, OVP? Yeah, you know me. Miguel, you're so stupid. I blame Miguel for all my sillies. Van der Bellen, a former leader of the left-wing Greens who has voiced reservations about Kickl becoming chancellor, angered the FPO by not asking it to form a government after the election on the grounds that no other party was willing to join it in a coalition. While saying the situation had now changed, Van der Bellen stopped short of saying he would ask Kickl to lead coalition talks. He's due to meet Kickl at 11 a.m. local time today, and a new caretaker chancellor will also be appointed in the coming week, with Nehammer staying in office until then. Voices within the People's Party that rule out cooperation with an FPO under Herbert Kickl have become much quieter. This, in turn, means that a new path may be opening up that did not exist before, Van der Bellen said in an address to the nation. Kickel gained significant support in elections in September, securing almost 30% of the vote for the first time. The conservative OVP you can't forget that part. Came second with 26%, while the center-left Social Democrats, the SPOE, gained 21%. The rise of Austria's FPO echoes a broader global trend, including the ascension of prominent far-right figures in recent years, including in the United States, Argentina, and Italy, among other nations. Let's read that again. The rise of Austria's FPO echoes a broader global trend, including the ascension of prominent far-right figures. All right? That's what's happening. That's the things we have to stop from happening. That's why we can't keep participating in dumb voting shit that ain't working. That's why we have to get in the streets and stop the shit. Stop it and change it and get the power out of these people's hands. The FPO, which has never led a government in Austria, has advocated for harder right policies, well, you think, including strict border controls and the suspension of the right to asylum through emergency legislation. Additionally, the party has proposed ending sanctions against Russia. Proposed ending sanctions and has been outspoken in its criticism of Western military aid to Ukraine. Still, far right, that's crazy. The party has also expressed interest in withdrawing from the European Sky Shield initiative, a missile defense project initiated by Germany. Kickel has frequently criticized the elites in Brussels and called for certain powers to be repatriated from the EU to Austria. Stocker had previously called Kickel a security risk to the country. So Germany, or Austria rather, and a lot of these other countries are doing the same shit, man. Just ditching socialist programs and heading hard right. And look what's happening in Argentina now with Milei, that guy, that motherfucker. It's just terrible down there. Death to Tyrants, good to see you, brother. Delicious. So yeah, and Germany's having a time too, as they're facing their longest recession ever. Yay! The German economy is on course for its longest post-war recession, with the third consecutive year of contraction projected for 2025, according to the Handelsblatt Research Institute, the HRI. The institute predicts a 0.1% decline in 2025, following contractions of 0.3% in 2023 and 0.2% in 2024. This economic slump surpasses the two-year downturn of the early 2000s and reflects the compounded effects of an energy crisis, persistent inflation, and the COVID-19 pandemic. The German economy is in the midst of its greatest crisis in post-war history, HRI chief economist Bert Rurup said. Demographic challenges such as an aging population are adding to the strain. The HRI estimates Germany's growth potential has fallen to just 0.5% annually. The economy is at the beginning of a strong aging spurt, Rurup noted. Official data from the Federal Statistical Office is expected next week is likely to confirm the contraction in 2024. While the HRI forecasts modest recovery in 2026, growth is expected to reach just 0.9%, far below pre-crisis levels. The German central bank has also adjusted its 2025 growth outlook, revising it down from 1.1% to just 0.2% in December. Germany's shift from affordable Russian gas to more expensive liquefied natural gas, that delicious LNG, delicious nom-noms, that's what the N stands for, nom-nom-nom-nom, from the U.S. has driven up energy costs, severely affecting manufacturers and small businesses. So the gas gets cuts off from Russia, and they were paying decent prices for that, and then they have to get the American shit, and it's through the roof, huh? Oh, it's a wonder. That's some mafia shit right there. Rising costs have led to shutdowns and bankruptcies across industries, including major players like Volkswagen. Before the escalation of the Ukraine conflict in 2022, Germany relied on Russian gas for over half of its energy needs. Following EU sanctions on Moscow, gas deliveries were drastically reduced or cut off entirely. In September 2022, the Nord Stream pipelines, which transported Russian gas to Germany, were destroyed by explosions. On January 1st, 2025, Russia was forced to officially suspend gas transit to the EU through Ukraine. Which is wild. You're having a war with them, but yet you're still working with them. That's weird how that works. Germany's export sector, particularly high-value manufacturing, remains one of the few strengths in the economy. However, it also faces challenges from global uncertainties and high energy prices. The loss of affordable Russian energy and rising costs have made recovery difficult. Former Chancellor Angela Merkel recently criticized the decision to abandon Russian gas. In an interview with France 2 TV in December, she called the past arrangement a win-win situation, saying it provided Germany with low-cost energy while now prices have exploded. The economic crisis has become a pressing issue for Germans. A poll in December conducted by public broadcaster ARD revealed that the economy is the top concern for voters. The early general election scheduled for February 23rd follows the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's center-left coalition in November. I don't know what that 0909 means, but yeah. So everything's coming up fucked up. Where are we at here? So we're getting close to the end of the news block here, kiddies. Don't go changing. So you remember that scary guy that used to be president of France? Well, he's on his trial is about to begin here. So France's ex-president Sarkozy, look at him. I am a lizard man. On trial over alleged Gaddafi pact. Interesting. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy, already convicted twice in separate cases since leaving office on Monday, goes on trial charged with accepting illegal campaign financing in an alleged pact with the late Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Because he's dead and he can't testify, I wonder how this is going to play out. The career of Sarkozy has been shadowed by legal trouble since he lost the 2012 presidential election, but he remains an influential figure for many on the right and is also known to regularly meet President Emmanuel Macron. The fiercely ambitious and energetic politician, 69, nice, who is married to the model and singer Carla Bruni, and while in power from 2007 to 2012, like to be known as the hyper president, has been convicted in 2 cases, charged in another, and is being investigated in connection with 2 more. Sarkozy will be in the dock at the Paris court barely half a month after France's top appeals court on December 18th rejected his appeal against a 1-year prison sentence for influence peddling, which he is to serve by wearing an electronic bracelet rather than in jail, because, of course, that's how shit works. The latest trial is the result of a decade of investigations into accusations that Sarkozy accepted illegal campaign financing, reportedly amounting to some 50 million euros from Gaddafi to help his victorious 2007 election campaign. In exchange, it is alleged, Sarkozy and senior figures pledged to help Gaddafi rehabilitate his international image after Tripoli was blamed for bombing attacks on Pan Am Flight 103 in 1988 over Lockerbie in Scotland, and UTA Flight 772 in 1989 that killed hundreds of passengers. Sarkozy has denounced the accusations as part of a conspiracy against him, insisting that he never received any financing for the campaign from Gaddafi and that there is no evidence of any such transfer. Sarkozy is also accused of trying to molest cats that have white stripes down their back if they are particularly black cats, and his flimsy excuse is that he thought they were skunks too. At a time when many Western countries were courting Gaddafi for energy deals as the maverick dictator sought to emerge from decades of international isolation, the Libyan leader in December 2007 visited Paris, famously installing his tent in the center of the city. That's interesting. I didn't know he did that. But France then backed the UN. Sanctioned military action that helped in 2011 oust Gaddafi, who was then killed by rebels. What has Pepe? What's the guy against? No, he is Pepe Le Pew. He's probably doing some shit. Let's see. Sarkozy has said allegations from former members of Gaddafi's inner circle over the alleged campaign financing are motivated by revenge. If convicted, Sarkozy faces up to 10 years in prison under the charges of concealing embezzlement of public funds and illegal campaign financing. The trial is due to last until April 10th. Sarkozy he puts the cozy in Sarkozy. He's like, you just want to snuggle with his creepy ass. Sarkozy is awaiting these 4 months of hearings with determination. He will fight the artificial construction dreamed up by the prosecution. There was no Libyan financing of the campaign, said his lawyer, Christophe Ingrain. Ingrain? That's a weird name. Among 12 others facing trial over the alleged Libyan financing are heavyweights such as Sarkozy's former right-hand man, Claude Guillant, his then head of campaign financing, Eric Worth, and former minister Brice Hortefeux. Claude Guillant will demonstrate that after more than 10 years of investigation, none of the offenses he is accused of have been proven. I'd just like to say it like that. Said his lawyer Philippe Bouchaz El-Ghozi, denouncing the cases as amounting to assertions, hypotheses, and other approximations. For the prosecution, the pact started in 2005 when Gaddafi and Sarkozy, then Interior Minister, met in Tripoli for a meeting ostensibly devoted to fighting illegal migration, but Sarkozy's defense counters that no trace of the illegal financing was ever found in the campaign coffers. The scandal erupted in April 2012, while Sarkozy was in the throes of his re-election campaign, when the Mediapart website published a bombshell article based on a document purportedly from December 2006. It said showed a former Libyan official evoking an agreement over the campaign financing. Sarkozy has long contended that the document is not genuine, and embittered Sarkozy would later narrowly lose the second round of the election to socialist François Hollande. Because how can you beat sauce? You're not going to beat sauce. Franco-Lebanese businessman Ziad Taqiyuddin, a key figure in the case, had claimed several times that he helped deliver up to 5 million euros, $5.4 million at the current rate, in cash from Gaddafi to Sarkozy and his chief of staff in 2006 and 2007. But in 2020, Taqiyuddin suddenly retracted his incriminating statement, raising suspicions that Sarkozy and close allies may have paid the witness to change his mind. In a further twist, Sarkozy was charged in October 2023 with illegal witness tampering, while Carla Bruni was last year charged with hiding evidence in the same case. Oh, you wickedly delicious people! Sarkozy's second conviction in another campaign financing case was confirmed last year by a Paris appeals court, which ruled he should serve 6 months in prison with another 6 months suspended. This verdict can still go to a higher domestic appeals court or to that cat that has the paint down his back. Yipper, what's up, Yipper? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing swell and well. What the hell? Nobody asked you to do that. So this is South China Morning Post. So, we were talking about weapons that the Houthis have, right? They got the hypersonics. Iran has the hypersonics. Russia has the hypersonics. Everybody's getting in the hypersonics, right? They just... Defense systems cannot, defend against them because usually how these defense systems work, they send up some sort of thing to target the missiles, right? To explode them before they hit their targets. These things are too fucking fast. Well, China is saying, hold my rice wine. I don't know if that's racist. If it is, I apologize. But I do like me some rice wine sometimes. So anyway, China's metal storm weapon can fire millions of rounds per minute, project scientists. So let's see if we can bring that out a little bit. There we go. A machine gun capable of firing bullets at a faster rate than the world has ever seen is being developed by Chinese scientists. What could be the most powerful machine gun in human history is being developed by Chinese scientists and engineers. This weapon consists of 5 or more barrels, kind of like a Gatling gun, with each barrel capable of firing bullets at a rate of 450,000 rounds per minute. So that's out of one barrel. And you have 5 or more, so that's like 2 million, over 2 million bullets a minute. Fuck. The resulting barrage has an unprecedented density capable of intercepting hypersonic missiles traveling at speeds exceeding Mach 7. So this is what China's doing. China said, yeah, if you try to put some hypersonic missiles on us, we got these hypersonic machine guns. Holy shit. In comparison, the maximum firing rate of the U.S. military's most powerful phalanx system is only 4,500 rounds per minute. This is kind of weird. Okay. Refilling ammunition for a weapon that consumes millions of bullets per minute has been considered an insurmountable challenge, but Chinese researchers in Taiwan, an industrial hub in central China, have come up with an ingenious solution: a container-like replaceable magazine filled with barrels, each packed with bullets. Once the bullets are fired, the disposable barrels are simply discarded along with the whole container. This box-type rotary firing technology can improve loading speed, reduce the decrease in barrel strength and accuracy due to repeated loading, and achieve the combat objectives of multiple strikes, continuous operations, and rapid-fire attacks. We're talking about 2 million bullets a minute. Jesus. The project team, led by Lu Zhutao, an associate professor of mechanical and electrical engineering with the North University of China, wrote in a peer-reviewed paper published in the Chinese Journal of Detection and Control in December. Traditional machine guns use mechanical triggers, but they cannot keep up with the demand by the People's Liberation Army for 7,500 shots per second. To solve this problem, Liu and his colleagues developed an electronic trigger consisting of coils. The contactless trigger can instantly melt the alloy wire embedded in the bullet, forming a high-energy metal jet that ignites the explosive. With unprecedented efficiency, this electronic trigger has a firing time of only 17.5 microseconds. Test data confirms that it is sufficient to achieve the target performance of 450,000 rounds per minute per barrel, Liu's team wrote. And I guess there's a picture of it melting. The original metal storm was created by Australian inventor Mike O'Dwyer in the 90s, but his company declared bankruptcy in 2012. So this weapon, also known as the metal storm, first proposed by Mike O'Dwyer, They produced a 36-barrel test system that reached a firing rate of 1 million rounds per minute. In 2006, O'Dwyer told the media that the PLA had approached him and offered $100 million American for the technology. The U.S. Department of Defense took notice and collaborated with O'Dwyer to develop new weapon systems for the battlefield. However, due to technical and other challenges, the project was ultimately abandoned, and Metal Storm Incorporated declared bankruptcy in 2012. China has continued to invest in this technology, mobilizing national scientific and technological resources for systematic research and development. According to publicly available information, some teams are focusing on the extremely complex basic physical problems involved in sequentially firing bullets loaded tightly in the barrel. Some teams have developed test bullets with sensors and chips, while others are focusing on reducing the cost and improving the reliability of disposable barrels. These efforts have made significant progress in recent years. Many scientists, including Liu, now believe that China's own version of the Metal Storm weapon could surpass the Western prototype from a decade ago by at least 10 times in firing rate and find its place in many military applications. Now, remember the prototype thing from the 90s shot 1 million bullets a minute, and this thing's like 10 times as fast. In future wars, the speed of weapons such as missiles and aircraft will continue to increase. Metal Storm weapons have already become essential equipment for defending territorial waters and airspace. That's some frightening shit right there. They can do like that many bullets, in 1 minute. So, and that's where we're heading, folks. That's why I say nukes don't really scare me that much anymore, because that's mutually assured destruction. But you can do tactical nukes, which are not big. That's different. And also these hypersonic missiles, and now these machine guns that can shoot 10 million bullets in a minute. Why aren't we building stuff to make the world better, to make things better for us, like free energy and stuff like that? Why aren't we doing that instead? No, we got to make bullets that, a million of them come at you in a minute. More than 3.5 million displaced by armed conflict in Myanmar, as that goes on. In Southeast Asia, more than 3.5 million have been displaced by armed conflict in Myanmar, an increase of 1.5 million from last year, according to the UN on Friday, warning that the country's humanitarian crisis could worsen. Since the military seized power in a 2021 coup, Myanmar has been rocked by fighting between numerous ethnic rebel groups and the army. These groups have battled the military since independence for autonomy and control of lucrative natural resources. The conflict has spread from the borderlands to most regions nationwide, forcing record numbers of people to flee their homes in search of safety and meeting their basic needs, the UN humanitarian agency OCHA said in a statement. As of December 16th, it's estimated that over 3.5 million people, more than 6% of the total population of 57 million across Myanmar, are now displaced, approximately 1/3 of them children, OCHA said. This marks a staggering increase of nearly 1.5 million internally displaced persons compared to a year ago. The agency said that the final days of 2024 had been marked by intense fighting involving airstrikes, drone attacks, artillery shelling raids, and arbitrary arrests. It called the outlook for 2025 grim, citing an unprecedented humanitarian crisis fueled by escalating conflict, disasters, epidemics, widespread explosive ordnance, and landmine contamination and economic collapse. If these trends persist, the humanitarian situation will deteriorate further, leaving millions of people in urgent need of assistance. That's OCHA warned. The UN estimates that 19.9 million people in Myanmar, or more than 1/3 of the population, will need humanitarian aid in 2025. Almost 20 million people. OCHA has launched an appeal for $1.1 billion in funding to reach 5.5 million people with life-saving assistance in 2025, but such appeals are chronically underfunded. Well, maybe you could take some of that fucking $8 billion that's going to Israel for more bullshit. Yeah. Priorities, right? Meanwhile, people in Myanmar, a third of the population is about to be displaced. That's pretty fucked up. But they have Myanmar's military regime is set to free nearly 6,000 prisoners in amnesty. I like those uniforms. I like that powder blue. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's nice. Myanmar's military rulers will release 5,864 prisoners, including 180 foreigners, under an amnesty to mark the country's 77 years of independence from British colonial rule, according to the state media there. The military said on Saturday that it had ordered the release on humanitarian and compassionate grounds and would commute the life sentences of 144 people to 15 years, according to state-run MRTV television. Details were not provided of what the prisoners had been convicted of, and the nationalities of the foreign detainees who were set to be deported on release were not known. The AP news agency said the foreigners to be released could include 4 Thai fishermen who were arrested by Myanmar's Navy in late November after patrol boats opened fire on Thai fishing vessels in waters close to their maritime border in the Andaman Sea. Thailand's prime minister has said she expects the 4 to be released on Independence Day. Myanmar regularly grants amnesty to thousands of people to commemorate holidays or Buddhist festivals. Last year, the military government announced the release of more than 9,000 prisoners to mark independence. A similar release took place in October of 2021. Among those still imprisoned in the country's is the country's former leader, Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi. The 79-year-old is serving a 27-year sentence tied to 14 criminal charges brought against her by the military, ranging from incitement and election fraud to corruption. She denies all the charges. This year's Independence Day ceremony was held in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw, and involved 500 representatives from the government and military. A speech by Myanmar's military chief, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, who was not present at the event, was delivered by Deputy Prime Minister and Army Sergeant So Win. In the speech, he called on ethnic minority armed groups that have been fighting military rule for the last 4 years to put down their weapons and resolve the political issue through peaceful means. Good luck with that. Myanmar has been in turmoil ever since early 2021, excuse me, when the military overthrew an elected civilian government and violently suppressed pro-democracy protests, leading to a nationwide armed rebellion that has made strong gains against the military on the battlefield. 2 weeks ago, a rebel group known as the Arakan Army, Arrakis, Dune, Desert Planet, captured a major regional command in the country's west, the second to fall to the armed resistance movement in 5 months. The group also recently took control of a 168-mile stretch of the border with Bangladesh when it captured the town of Mongdaw. I believe that's it. Yes. So, that is what's going on news-wise in the world. You heard it here, probably second or third, but probably not first. New year, new you, but guess what? They're still killing journalists in Israel. I know, shocked and amazed that you are, but yet here we are.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publishing things they are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
All right, so Israeli strike kills Palestinian journalist alongside his parents in central Gaza. This young man right there. Israeli forces killed Palestinian journalist Omar al-Darawi along with his parents in a strike on their home in central Gaza on Friday. Darawi, who worked for various media outlets, is the 202nd journalist to have been killed by the Israeli army in Gaza since the start of the war in October 2023, according to Gaza's government media office. The government media office condemns in the strongest terms the targeting, killing, and assassination of Palestinian journalists by the Israeli occupation, and we call on the International Federation of Journalists, the Federation of Arab Journalists, and all journalistic bodies in all countries of the world to condemn these systemic crimes against Palestinian journalists and media professionals in the Gaza Strip, the office said in a statement. It called on the international community to prosecute Israel in international courts for its crimes. Darawi and his family were mourned by colleagues and loved ones. His press vest put over the shroud covering his body. According to Al Jazeera photojournalist Hassan al-Kisahawi was also killed hours prior by an Israeli drone strike on Gaza City. Media organizations have repeatedly urged Israel to protect journalists covering the war in Gaza. But then, how can they do their propaganda stuff if actual journalists are out there? Which the Committee to Protect Journalists called the deadliest period for journalists since the organization started gathering data in 1992. Israel often claims that Palestinian journalists are Hamas members, of course, because everybody's Hamas this time of year. While providing little or debunked evidence for its claims, over 45,000 Palestinians have been killed since October. Yeah, so they're still killing members of the press. And that's part of the propaganda, is killing the truth tellers, right? You can't be telling people what we're really doing. That blows our whole narrative. What, are you crazy? And now the Palestinian Authority is just really starting to piss me off now. Palestinian Authority suppresses criticism of Jenin operation as West Bank. The Palestinian Authority's ban on Al Jazeera is part of a broader attempt to silence criticism of its security operation in the Jenin refugee camp in the occupied West Bank, according to activists and analysts. The ban came almost a month after the PA launched a crackdown on a coalition of armed groups that call themselves the Jenin Brigades. The groups are affiliated with Palestinian factions such as Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, that's PIJ, and even Fatah, the party that controls the PA. Since early December, the PA has besieged the Jenin camp and cut off water and electricity to most of the inhabitants in an ostensible attempt to restore law and order across the West Bank. How, wow, ever. Its indiscriminate tactics in Jenin coincide with a wider attack on free speech, activists and human rights groups told Al Jazeera. Activists and rights groups said dozens of people have been summoned and interrogated, some beaten, over social media posts opposing the PA's operation in Jenin, although prominent Palestinian personalities have still been able to write critical posts about the security operation. Most of these detained have been released, but some were forced to upload apology videos, according to rights groups. Sanad Al Jazeera's fact-checking agency reviewed and verified 3 apology videos that were circulating online. There is tension over the PA's operation, and people don't feel safe to speak about it or to share with us what happened to them when they were detained, said Murad Jadallah, a human rights researcher with Al-Haq, a Palestinian human rights group in the West Bank. The PA was born out of the Oslo Accords between Palestinian and Israeli leaders in 1993. It mandated that the PA recognize Israel and eliminate Palestinian armed groups in exchange for a Palestinian state alongside Israel by 1999. That did not happen. Israel, has used the last 30 years to expand illegal settlements on large swaths of stolen Palestinian land, nearly tripling the number of settlers in the occupied West Bank. As an occupying power, it still controls most aspects of Palestinian life and frequently carries out raids, killings, and arrests in the West Bank, even in areas where the PA is supposed to be in full control. Despite dimming hopes for statehood, the PA has stuck to its mandate under the Oslo Accords, leading to accusations from many Palestinians that the administration is effectively cooperating with Israel to maintain the occupation. And recent events have kind of made that pretty obvious. Over the years, the PA has also escalated repression against Palestinian opponents and dissidents. In 2021, the PA arrested critic and activist Nazar Banat, who died in custody. According to Amnesty International, the PA has failed to adequately investigate his death. More recently, on December 28th, a sniper shot dead Shata al-Sabag, a female journalist who had been speaking to residents in the camp about the security operation. Her family blamed the PA forces, yet the PA denied responsibility and blamed outlaws for her death. Look at you, PA. Just like your IDF brothers, to making up excuses for your obvious murders. 4 days later, the PA banned Al Jazeera, believed to be the most popular media network in the occupied West Bank. If this decision is enforced, it means Al Jazeera won't be able to monitor what it is monitoring and documenting today, said Munir Nusayba, a political analyst with Palestinian think tank Al-Shabaka. This will affect the Palestinian cause as a whole. Al Jazeera reports Palestine to the world, he told Al Jazeera. The way the Palestinian Authority is dealing with the situation right now is that there is just one truth, and that truth is their narrative, said Al-Haq Jadala. Yeah, just like Israel. There's one truth, and that's their narrative. Yeah, so some PA officials have claimed that armed groups in the Jenin camp are part of a broader Iranian-backed conspiracy or extremist outlaws aiming to undermine the Palestinian quest for statehood. According to Ahmed Mohammed, an activist monitoring digital freedoms in the Palestinian territory, the PA's rhetoric aims to link the Jenin brigades to a foreign plot to discredit them as a legitimate resistance against Israeli occupation. This is a rehashing of Israeli propaganda, which claims that Palestinians are not acting out of their own will, but on direction from Iran, and that Iran is the big boogeyman, Mohammed said. There is merit that Iran supports resistance activities in Palestine and oppressive regimes elsewhere, but the PA is trying to claim they're the ones who have Palestinians in their mind and have a pro-Palestinian policy, he added. Iran has traditionally provided financial and military aid to Hamas and PIJ, two of the factions that loosely make up the Jenin brigades, as part of its broader policy to challenge Israeli and U.S. hegemony in the region. However, Hamas and PIJ are not puppets and remain rooted in their quest to resist Israel's occupation, according to a report by the European Council on Foreign Relations, a United Kingdom-based think tank. That's the European CFR. Meanwhile, the PA's main donors are the United States and Europe, whose stances often conflict with wider Palestinian aspirations and views. Yes. So the Palestinian Authority, like we said, has nothing to do with Hamas. That's a totally separate thing. And right now they're playing nice, even though Israel keeps, violating the ceasefire on a daily basis. Game.film, what's up? Good to see you, my friend. Happy Monday to you. Hope all is well to you. And Al-Qaeda has apparently executed a Yemeni journalist abducted 9 years ago. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula has executed Yemeni journalist Mohammed al-Makri after holding him captive for 9 years, the Committee to Protect Journalists reported on Thursday. Al-Makri, a correspondent for the television channel Yemen Today, was abducted in 2015 while covering an anti-AQAP protest in Al-Mukalla, the capital of the southern governorate of Hadramaut. Yeah, that's a mouthful. He was executed along with 10 other individuals after years of enforced disappearance. The killing of Mohammed al-Makri highlights the extreme dangers Yemeni journalists face while reporting from one of the world's perilous conflict zones, said Yagana Razian, CPJ's interim Middle East and North Africa program director. Enforced disappearances continue to endanger their lives. Razayan condemned the act and called for accountability, urging all factions in Yemen to abandon such abhorrent practices. The Yemeni Journalist Syndicate also condemned the execution, saying it was working with the relevant authorities to investigate the crime, prosecute the perpetrators, recover the journalist's body, and deliver it to his family. Al-Makri had been held incommunicado by AQAP since October 12, 2015, following his abduction during the protests. The group accused the individuals of spying against the Mujahideen, a label the group uses for its fighters. His death underscores the increasing danger for journalists operating in Yemen, where armed groups have targeted media professionals as part of broader efforts to suppress dissent and control narratives. At least 2 other Yemeni journalists remain subjected to enforced disappearances, a practice characterized by abduction and the refusal to disclose a person's fate or whereabouts. Wahid al-Sufi, the editor-in-chief of the independent newspaper Al Arabiya, has been missing since April 2015 and is thought to be being held by the Houthi government. Nasa Shakir, who was last heard from on November 19th of last year, is believed to be being held by the Southern Transitional Council, a cessationist organization in southern Yemen. Yemen continues to rank among the deadliest countries for journalists, with armed conflict and factional violence leaving media workers vulnerable to abductions, disappearances, and killings. That's why you see a lot of Yemenis come to the United States. I knew a lot in New York, mostly business folks that, they would work for a year in the United States and then a solid year every day. No days off, right? Unless they were like deathly ill or something, but they would work every day, and then at the end of the year, they would go back home to Yemen and take whatever money they earned in the United States, bring it back there to their families. Because they have to, because they can't find anything over there because of civil wars and the UK and the US bombing the shit out of them too. It's crazy. Meanwhile, in Russia, I believe it's Russia's. Yeah, RT crew narrowly escapes deadly Ukrainian drone strike on journalists there. And RT crew narrowly avoided a Ukrainian drone strike in Russia's Donetsk People's Republic that claimed the life of Russian war correspondent Alexander Martynyanov and injured 5 other members of the press. The Izvestia journalist was targeted while traveling in a civilian vehicle on Saturday. RT correspondent Roman Kosyrev revealed that the team had worked alongside Martynyanov just hours before the fatal incident. Kosyrev and the Izvestia reporter were both recording yet another atrocity at the scene of a Ukrainian cluster munition strike on a residential area in the Donbass town of Gorlovka on Saturday, Kosyrev told RT's Yunan O'Neill on Saturday. They attacked the city of Gorlovka with cluster shells and 10 people were wounded. Alexander and I and other reporters were on the scene recording everything that happened, Kosyrev said. Mind you, there was not a single military site in vision, he added. All civilian targets. Because that's what Ukraine does. Shortly before leaving the scene, they spoke about the best routes to take to avoid potential Ukrainian attacks, Kosyrev said. He was advising me on which route to take best to get out of Gorlovka and move on to Donetsk, he said, adding that he did not listen to the advice and took his own route. Just hours later, Kosyrev found out that Martemyanov was killed by a Ukrainian drone, and at least 4 other reporters traveling with him were wounded. Martemyanov had been reporting from the Donbass since 2014 and persisted despite being severely wounded in the line of work in 2023, Kosyrev said. He returned to our duty to cover the truth, to cover everything that's going on here in the Donbass, just like it had since 2014, since the very beginning of the Ukrainian aggression, the RT correspondent, who himself has survived direct hits on vehicles he was traveling in, said. Moscow has condemned the drone strike that murdered Martemyanov as an act of terrorism. This deliberate murder of a Russian journalist is yet another brutal crime in the list of Kiev's bloody atrocities, Foreign Minister spokeswoman and future ex-wife Maria Zakharova said on Saturday. She slammed Western watchdog organizations for turning a blind eye to Ukrainian war crimes. The attack, which took Martemyanov's life, was the latest in a number of cases in which Kiev's forces have killed Russian journalists reporting from the conflict in Ukraine. So, and you see that too, right? Like Hamas and Hezbollah, the Triple H, they'll target military sites, right? But you'll see Israel target civilian sites. Russia targeting mostly military sites, and Ukraine mostly civilians. That's how that works. So you tell me, who are the baddies? Are we the baddies? We probably are the fucking baddies, to be honest with you. Here in America, renowned Washington Post cartoonist quits after being refused to publish the critique of Jeff Bezos, is what that should say. Says from Common Dreams, Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist Ann Telnaes has resigned from the Washington Post, where she, where she has worked since 2008, due to what she claims was editorial interference. Telnaes claimed an editor at the paper killed her draft cartoon depicting Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos and other billionaire tech and media chief executives groveling on their knees at the feet of President-elect Donald Trump. Fair enough. Along with Bezos, Telnaes depicted Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman bringing Trump sacks of cash. Los Angeles Times owner and billionaire Patrick Soon-Shiong was shown with a tube of lipstick. Oh my. In a post to her Substack, the hell is this? Why is this on there? This is weird. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. In a post to her Substack, Telnaes wrote, I have had editorial feedback and productive conversations and some differences about cartoons I've submitted for publication. But in all that time, I've never had a cartoon killed because of who or what I chose to aim my pen at until now. As an editorial cartoonist, my job is to hold powerful people and institutions accountable. For the first time, my editor prevented me from doing that critical job, so I've decided to leave the Post. I doubt my decision will cause much of a stir and that it will be dismissed because I'm just a cartoonist, but I will not stop holding truth to power through my cartooning because, as they say, democracy dies in darkness. Really? You had to go and say that? After 300,000 people canceled their digital subscriptions after Jeff Bezos decided to squash a Washington Post endorsement of Kamala Harris in October. There's the cartoon. Money for you, sir. Mickey dead. Look at Mickey over there kissing ass. And there's some more of these. Okay, so yeah. How where are your real ethics as a journalist? How much are you willing to take, before you decide to get the fuck out of there? Because you could sell out, but are you selling out for yourself or selling out for humanity? Yeah, so okay. All right. So this past weekend, Biden on his I'm about to get out of here and go take a nap tour, giving out the Medal of Freedom. Now, I think the Medal of Freedom may have actually meant something at some point, but all it is just like some bullshit. Just look, we recognize you did something cool, and we better recognize you because people will get mad at us, kind of shit thing. So. But Biden faces backlash over Medal of Freedom for Clinton and Soros. See, and they're playing to the old people, right? Look, it's your Medal of Freedom. She must have earned it. Just kind of like how the Nobel Peace Prize is, you give it to warmongers. Who the fuck cares? It doesn't mean anything. Fox News reported on Saturday widespread backlash over President Joe Biden announcing that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and billionaire George Soros will receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. The award recognizes individuals who have made significant contributions to the prosperity, values, or security of the United States, world peace, or other notable endeavors, the White House said in a statement. Tesla CEO Elon Musk was among the most vocal critics, describing the decision to honor Soros as a travesty. Musk shared a clip from his appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast where he said Soros fundamentally hates humanity. In the video, Musk said he's doing things that erode the fabric of civilization, getting DAs elected who refuse to prosecute crime. According to the White House, Clinton is being honored for her decades of public service, including being the first female senator from New York, the first lady to hold elected office, and the first woman nominated for president by a major political party. However, her tenure as Secretary of State remains controversial, particularly her handling of the 2012 Benghazi attack and her use of a private email server for government business, not to mention accusations of her being implicated in war crimes and murdering people here at home, too. Don't forget that, Seth Rich. As Secretary of State, Clinton played a key role in advocating for NATO's intervention in Libya, which led to the overthrow and death of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. We came, we saw, he died. That's what she said. While the intervention was initially framed as a humanitarian mission, critics argue it destabilized Libya, leading to civil war, a rise in militant groups, and a humanitarian crisis. Don't forget the open-air slavery. Soros, a major donor to many causes, has donated over $32 billion of his Open Society foundations to promote democracy, human rights, and social justice globally. Critics, however, accuse him of using his wealth to fund color revolutions in post-Soviet states, Eastern Europe, and other regions. His involvement has been framed as a form of foreign meddling aimed at advancing Western geopolitical interests under the guise of promoting democracy and human rights. Clinton and Soros are among 19 honorees this year, including actors Denzel Washington and Michael J. Fox, sports icons Magic Johnson and Lionel Messi, and the late Robert F. Kennedy, who is being recognized posthumously for his work against racial segregation and poverty. President Biden believes great leaders keep the faith, give everyone a fair shot, and put decency above all else, the White House said, adding, "These 19 Americans are great leaders who have made America a better place. They're great leaders because they're good people who have made extraordinary contributions to their country and the world." Yes, Denzel. Finally, some good news. We told you about last couple weeks or so how these small media places were going to have to get paid by Google. It looks like it's starting to happen as Google pays $100 million to use Canadian news outlet stories. Google has paid 100 million Canadian, that's 69 million here in the United States, to use news stories from Canadian media outlets on its platform, the tech company said Friday. Canadian news outlets were struggling to survive and lost ad revenue to Google and Meta. Under the Online News Act, both companies were told to pay large sums to the Canadian Journalism Collection, the CJC, to compensate news media for using content. The money will be dispersed to the media companies. Meta refused to pay and has blocked Canadian news content from its platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, to avoid paying the CJC. Under the Google deal, 30% of the $100 million will go to broadcasters and the rest will be divided among news publishers. News Media Canada President Paul Deegan told AFP News that the funding will bolster cash flow for Canadian newsrooms, allowing them to produce more high-quality coverage of our democratic institutions. News Media Canada represents major news broadcasters and publishers. At the same time, the deal is good for Google because it allows it access to fact-based, fact-check content our journalists produce, said Deegan. The nonprofit CJC will divvy up the money to Canadian news outlets. Publishers will receive $13,798 for each journalist employed, while small outlets, digital and print, will receive $17,000 for each full-time journalist, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation reported. The money is a significant step in the federal government's battle to have big tech companies pay for using Canadian news content. Under the terms, Google receives a 5-year exemption from the Online News Act. So there you go. Fun stuff there for the kiddies. There in your propaganda watch, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Get the door, it's Domino's. Or maybe lock the door because it's probably cardboard with pizza sauce on it. Yeah, it's not really good. It kind of used to be like back in college, man. Those pepperoni pizzas from Domino's, they were great, man. You could order extra cheese, extra sauce, get all nice and sloppy. And now it just tastes like somebody just like say, "Here, can you shit out a pizza and make it look round?" Yeah, okay. Anyway, Jesus saves, but Moses has a hedge fund. Yep, Seth Rich, speaking of him, would have turned 31 this week. That is right. That is right. You know, I like to step off things, get the show taken out with a little bit of good news or something silly or something like that. So the new year, that means new elephants. And 2025 welcomes rare twin elephants in Kenya. So let's check this out.
Have it spotted a mother elephant with twins in Shimba Hills National Reserve.
Wait a minute. Twin elephants.
This makes the third case of twin births of elephants in the country
They're so
in 3
cute.
years.
Look at them babies.
The phenomenon of twin births in elephants is exceedingly rare, occurring approximately less than 1% of the time among elephant births. The rarity of twin births in elephants can be attributed to several biological and ecological factors. Elephants have the longest breeding period of any mammal, lasting between 18 and 22 months, and so carrying 2 calves simultaneously would place immense strain on the mother's body.
18 to 22 months.
Environmental conditions can also affect twinning rates. But despite these factors, it hasn't stopped these latest twins to start their new lives fresh in 2025.
It's so cute. So twin elephants. That's a kind of a rarity there. So 22 months. You got to carry a kid. People in the chat that's had kids that carried babies. You thought 9 months was bad. Whoo, 22 months. Jeez Louise. That is a bit of a haul there. So hopefully none of you have to carry a baby for 22 months. That's like that baby comes out like 40 years old. You're like, I want some Capri Sun. What? You already talking? Right out of the womb? That's crazy talk. Yeah, that's the news show for today. Don't forget, coming up here probably about, I think he does it at 2 p.m. Eastern now. Our buddy Kevin at Black Bear News. He'll be doing his show. Willie, I don't know. Willie did a show last night. I don't know if he's going to do a show tonight. He might. Willie, if you're still in the chat room. Willie, if you're still on the chat line, let us know if you're doing a show tonight. And of course, Around the World with D and Friends, 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Facebook. So there's also Wednesday, some good news. You may have seen her on the Willie Bragg show. As author Angie Moon is going to be with us Wednesday for ExtraBulla Live. She's got her book Crime of the Century, and we're going to be talking a lot about that. It's talking about like rock and roll crime, true crime, that sort of thing. And she's got a whole book about it. We're going to talk about that on Wednesday. That's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time for that. So, what's up, Prop? Good to see you. You changed your thing again. You need to stop being racist. Seriously. Stop being so racist, Prop. Come on. I know you can't help it. You have so much racism inside you that you have to get it out. But just try and contain yourself around normal people, okay? He's not racist. Well, he's a little racist. He's a little something. Maybe a little bit. What else is going on? So yeah, new week. That's going to be going on Wednesday. And we'll be back here Wednesday morning with this show. If you liked what you heard, give us a like, share, and subscribe. If you're new to this nonsense, you want to see more of it. We also got donation links down below if you want to become a patron. It would be cool. Our buddy Z and Ellen Jimerson, they became Patreon members recently. You could do just $1 a month if you want. That helps out. Every little bit helps, and every little bit is appreciated. And if you can't do that, if you can share out the links to people, I think that also helps immensely as well. So, I believe that's going to be it for me. I'm hopefully all your holiday plans were good. You had a good time. You got to spend it with people you like, people that you care about. And hopefully this year and this new year, we can get more and more people together. Hopefully we can have like a little, like for me, I'd like to get together with some of our Chicago peeps around here, have like a little outing somewhere. I think that would be fun. And then, go from there and get others to get together too, with their audience members and stuff like that, because we're all community, we're trying to get information out. We're trying to entertain you and, trying to talk to people that have cool ideas, cool things to show us and stuff. So, it's all about being a better world and being a better society in the world, because right now it's just nothing but greed and lies, and we've got to wipe all that out of the way. We've got to start teaching people about the propaganda they're steeped in, and hopefully get them out of the cults. You know what I mean? Anyway, take care of yourselves. If you're in a cold place, please stay warm. I hope you get through it soon. Looks like it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be, but then, this kind of weather can still kind of go crazy. As far as like, who knows, right? You could be one day, it could be like 70 degrees. The next day you're getting like 4 inches of snow. So anyway, stay frosty in more ways than one, and take care of yourselves. I love each and every one of you. And we will see you on Wednesday. Take care of yourselves. Peace out. Yo!
This is City Alpha 5! Woo!